So good day. Welcome to the panel discussion about the future role of the project freight forwarders. We are here to discuss about the future role, but also let's think about the present role. And this is particularly important now as the world is experiencing a big disruption of the global logistic supply chains. There's a big demand on one side and lack of space and equipment on a different side. We see highest freight rates ever. We have pandemic still, congestion in the ports, lack of supplies, you name it. All of those are the challenges we have to deal with on a daily basis. Furthermore, the ship owners are heavily trying to cut the logistic chain by approaching the customers directly. Customers are exploring new solutions to keep the costs at the lowest possible level, but at the same time paying sky-high freight rates and trying just to deliver the cargo. Such delivery is these days often delayed. How can the project forwarder defend its position, and how can we prove to our customers that we are important? Let's see if we will be able to get some good answers or solutions today. So my name is Marin Škufca. I'm the partner and CEO of Liburnia Maritime agency, company based in Croatia, but we also have offices in Netherlands and Czech Republic. I'm in Liburnia for 17 years, so in shipping and logistics for 17 years. I started on a very low level as a water clerk, and now I'm on CEO position. So let's say that there's a nice experience behind all of this. And today I also have a very important guest with me. I had quite a difficult task to shorten the CVs of the gentlemen here with me. They are all very experienced in shipping and logistics, and I'm sure that they will be able to answer some questions today in the best way, and also that we can get some good answers. I forgot to to click there's a little bit of introduction about Liburnia Maritime Agency. We will see also, as we are talking, the introduction of other companies here. So I'm going to start in alphabetical order. Henrik Hansen is here with me from Ocean 7, the ship owners. He's in shipping since 1987, working in different companies, and today he's a legal and chartering manager in Ocean 7. Maybe Henrik, you can introduce yourself briefly to us, to the guests.
Yeah, well, you've sort of said the majority of what there is to be said. I'm heading our legal department and our chartering, working with chartering as well in the office in Svendborg, which is in a small town in Denmark. Ocean 7 is, as you said, a ship owner or ship manager rather. We have, I think, about 15 ships under commercial management, and we have another 10 ships or so in time charter. Operate globally within the project and heavy lift industry.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And then we have Mr. Jos Swets, company Oudkerk from Netherlands, from Rotterdam. He's 25 years in shipping, 5 years in Asia. Nice place, Singapore. Oudkerk is pretty much having the same activities as my company. They are agents, brokers, freight forwarders. So pretty much giving the turnkey, able to give the turnkey solution to the clients. And you are in heavy lift, offshore, project sector. So,
my name is Jos Swets. I'm in charge of the commercial department of Oudkerk. We are one of the leading shipping agents in all the Dutch ports, specialized in offshore. I'm also in charge of the freight forwarding department. So, and because of this offshore knowledge, we move a lot of offshore cargoes around. Also started as a water clerk, so makes two of us.
How many ships you loaded?
Too many to go.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And then we have Jürgen, Weyhausen, 7 worldwide logistics, 20 years in container and project shipping, 28 years in project freight forwarding, global project director for different companies, and CEO and partner in 2 networks, Exclusive Project Network and Global Industrial Relocation Networks. Jürgen?
Yes, I'm Jürgen Weyhausen. Glad to be here. As you just heard, I shouldn't be here because I'm already 48 years in the business, so I should have retired. But instead, I started our own project company last year, and we are strictly in projects, very much niche products, and well, I will come to that a little bit later in detail. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, I was preparing myself, obviously, for this nice discussion, and the fresh news today. You can see news all around about the freight forwarding industry developing in different way, digitalization. Then, of course, if you ask today Maersk or other container liner carriers, freight forwarders are not needed at all in the chain. Just yesterday, I saw fresh news. Zim established new digital freight forwarding company, Ship Forward. They claim that just like Booking.com or Airbnb, a person could use their platform and forget about using the freight forwarder, and basically it's very easy to do everything yourself. What do we think about that? Is that possible?
Okay.
Jürgen.
Yes, well, I have my doubts actually. Okay, when we talk about containers or when we talk about business that is one way or the other can be standardized, this might work. When we talk about projects, and if you have to do delivery up to job site somewhere in the world, I just cannot see how carriers are able to do it, because that takes a lot more experience, that takes a lot of local experience at the receiving end. And we spoke about it before. Nowadays, one other problem I think for everybody is existing. There is just not enough good professional staff that you can find. And I mean, without any professional of our business, you are in a complete mess. And when you come, and projects very often, as you know, goes to, let's say, third world countries or not so much developed regions, where you are confronted with different mentality, lack of infrastructure, lack of equipment, corruption in many places. And if you don't have a local partner that really knows this inside out, no chance even for me. So somebody has to still explain me how the shipping companies intend to do it. Again, I'm not talking about containers, because I think if we talk about standardized traffic, in 10 years or so we might have something like Amazon for logistic services. This I wouldn't be surprised, but for projects I can't see that.
Yes, of course, it's very difficult. If I only look at the correspondence for certain project that we are having, I mean, you can count 1,000 emails about different discussions, technical, operational. I don't think that's easy to substitute, but the problem is that somebody is of different opinion than myself. So, okay. I think that we are sharing absolutely the same opinion. We have seen the freight rates setting highest records lately and still growing. What is, for your opinion, main factor causing disruption on global supply chain? Henrik.
I think that there's no single factor that you can point out causing this. I think in reality you have to look at a couple of different factors. Of course, COVID-19 being one of them, and how so? Because it actually began by basically undercutting everything. We didn't have much cargo to carry, or everybody was afraid that there wouldn't be any cargo to carry. Passenger traffic stopped, both on ships and by planes. But I think at the same time, what happened in particular in Western Europe, or in Europe and in the US, was that you saw a lot of money not being spent. So you have 128 million households in the US, you have 195 million households in Europe or in the EU. Each of these households would normally spend money on driving, spend money on going to restaurants, traveling for holiday and so on. And they didn't spend that money. So all of a sudden you had an upsurge in ways of compensating for the fact that you have to work from home. You wanted a new computer, a new PlayStation, a new washer or dryer. You decided to renovate your house and so on and so forth. And this, I think, has been instrumental in creating an upsurge in container demand, basically consumer goods being required in the Western world, and thereby creating this peak in demand and a trough in supply, perhaps.
Yeah, I also think that online shopping is heavily causing this disruption. I even deleted the applications for online shopping from my wife's phone. So, do you think that the freight rates will fall to levels we had in 2020, or they will continue growing? Jos, can you tell me a little bit your opinion?
I don't see them falling yet. Definitely not till the levels of 2020. I also don't think that's very healthy level. I think we should find some mid-level somewhere where we can still trade, we can still make some money, and that everybody can work with. So I think we're more looking for some stability.
Yes.
And when this happens, next year, but I think it will take maybe 23, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, now we have the end of the year. A lot of companies are trying to reach the targets that they had. So it's traditionally very hot market at the end of the year. But we also see the bunker prices increasing heavily these days. I don't know, do you think that in January and February we can see the traditional fall of the rates, or
I don't
difficult?
see it happen.
I think you have a couple of factors there that count as well. For instance, the fact that for the preceding 10 years, freight rates have been unsustainably low, and the result has been in our industry, in the project forwarding or in the project carriage and heavy lift carriage industry, that a number of ship owners have been unable to maintain their ships. Some of them have folded, have been declared bankrupt by banks. They have been able to pay their OPEX and perhaps some of the interest rates or some of the interest owed on the ships, but they haven't been able to pay the principal on the mortgage. Now, for once, you see that they are sort of able to do that. They are in a situation where they can actually start paying for the ship, maintaining the ship, and so on and so forth. So I think it would be unhealthy that it fell to the levels of last year. I do agree that we will see a correction, and I think in the container industry it sort of gives itself away because ship owners have short memories, and so do banks.
Yeah.
They have already started ordering ships in large numbers, and eventually when they start being delivered, you will have a slump in the container freight rates again. But for project cargo and heavy lift, it's a different matter.
Yeah. Stability is definitely what we need, and the rates were definitely very low in the past 2020 and even before. And the thing is that also because of that, the ship owners were focusing on getting ashore so they can earn some more money, because out of the freight rates they were not earning before. So now we obviously see that container liner carriers are going ashore. They all acquired freight forwarding companies, and they are doing this very seriously. But in project cargo segment, do you think that we will see the ship owners coming ashore, Jürgen?
Well, they already try. Some of them already made the first attempts for this, but I can only repeat, I'm not worried. I mean, if I look at the project that we are doing, this is so special. I mean, we are very much in worldwide relocation of second-hand industrial factories. And this is so special that I'm not even worried much about my forwarder competition, because you need to have a very special knowledge for this. Just like you in your offshore business, I wouldn't even try to touch it because I have no clue. And I think this is also the future, and this is also important for people like us. We have to find real niches, and I wouldn't consider project cargo as such as a niche. But then there are a lot of, let's call it sub-niches, and we have to make it, we have to specialize so much that we become kind of well, you never are independent from competition and from the market, but to minimize this and to try to reach a point where the customer cannot avoid to work with you. I think this is really important because, again, when carriers, heavy lift carriers, project carriers go ashore, if this means they make pre-carriage in Europe to some port and stop delivering in the port of discharge, this maybe they can do. But I repeat what I was saying before, I just cannot see any of the carriers at the moment organizing 500 tons loads, 500 kilometers into the deepest jungle in some corrupt, strange country. I mean, I said before, it took me more than 40 years to build the connections I have around the globe to find people who are able to do that. So just to say, okay, we go ashore now, man, what does that mean? I mean, I'm still looking forward to see the real performance of these guys, if this will ever happen. I think there is also a lot of hot air. There is a lot of marketing, PR, that they like to talk about it to make themselves more interesting. But for the foreseeable future, I don't see that.
Thank you. Henrik, I remember one of your presentations in Asia when we were in normal period, when we could travel there for the conference.
A couple of years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I'm missing that time. But you were always saying, and also in that presentation, that Ocean 7 is a freight forwarder friendly ship owner, that you are keen to work with the freight forwarders.
Yeah.
Is that still the case?
That is still very much the case. I think if you go back, let's say 4 or 5 years, there was an element of finance in it as well, because the forwarders have always sort of taken on themselves the burden of bridging finance between the EPCs and the ship owners. And 5 years ago, it would have been impossible for us to go into anything where we would have to give 30, 60, 90 days credit or even more. But that's just one side of it. The other side of it is that the organization you need to build relationships with EPCs, with manufacturers around the world is enormous. That's what some of the big freight forwarders have, and that's the sort of the regional expertise that companies like yours has, and we do not have that, so I can't see that logically being a development for us. At the same time, I think our experience has been as well that the freight forwarder acts in many different capacities towards the ship owner, ship operator, and we do speak a lot of the same language. So there's a lot of things understood when we have a transaction. We know the contracts and so on and so forth. We don't go into the contract types that the freight forwarders operate under, whether sort of on road, CMR in Europe and so on and so forth, or NSAB or whatever. But I think by the same token, it's essentially a matter of relying on the people that have the local expertise or the regional expertise or the global expertise, depending on which forwarder you're talking about. So I think we will maintain the same position as we've had throughout.
I mean, Ocean 7, as well as the other carriers these days, is quite comfortable with this market with very nice freight rates. I have been paying a lot with Ocean 7, I have to complain. But the thing is that there's some money behind all of that now. And talking about this getting ashore, it's obviously also a huge investment. Is it better to invest the money that you earned now in the new fleet? We know that heavy lift fleet is getting older and older, and there's this, for example, there's this insurance requirement that the vessels shouldn't be older than 15 years. It's quite a challenging thing to do, to find a vessel for good money these days, which is younger than 15 years. Are you going to invest?
We have to. I mean, if you don't invest, you die. So that's the short answer. I think coming back to what I said early on, that there has been a 10-year period with the absence of repayments on mortgages, where interest rates or interest and OPEX have been paid on the ships, but nothing else. That has meant the banks are a little bit reticent to actually agree loans to finance project cargo ships, where they've been a lot more willing to go in and back container lines, container operators. So I do think that as you say, the fleet is aging. There has been rarely any new builds the past 15 years, 20 years, 10 years or 15 years. We had a sort of a tail of new builds being delivered 2008 up till 2011 from the early or the noughties high market, and since then there have been some single orders, the largest portion of which is now with United Heavy Lift. A lot of the other owners and operators haven't been able to invest, so that's where the money needs to go now, and that's what we expect to see shortly, that there will be some kind of increase in orders on the multi-purpose heavy lift project cargo side.
Thank you very much. Jos, do you have difficult time finding a tonnage for your clients these days?
It's very difficult. Is my sound working? Or?
No, I can hear you, but I don't know whether the audience can hear. Maybe you can increase the volume of, for example, I'm having difficulties hearing Henrik.
Okay.
And Jürgen, you're okay.
No, yeah, we definitely have difficulties finding tonnage. Ship owners, for every ship they have 5, 6 cargoes at the moment. Yeah. It's it is really difficult, and I think we are in the lucky circumstances that our customers, our customers, are willing to pay extra money to get their cargo safely and timely delivered. So they adapt quite quickly. But I can imagine for commodities we don't pay so much freight, they're totally dead at the moment, and I think they're struggling.
Yeah. I've seen a United Heavy Lift vessel was in Adriatic recently, and I was trying to fix her, and they told me that they are ballasting to Japan from Adriatic, and without possibility to stop anywhere. So we can agree that's quite crazy. Yeah?
Everybody wants to go east. That's where the cargoes are.
Okay. Henrik, you are the ship owner, but Jürgen and Jos, you are also the freight forwarders. My company is used as a bank towards the clients. We are crediting our clients, and it's more and more days. It used to be 30, now it's 60, 90. If you work with Italian companies, it's even 120 or 180 days. How do you manage with that problem? Do you also credit your clients?
We credit to some clients, and it's never longer than the voyage time.
Okay.
So before we release bills of lading, pay should be done.
Okay.
That's we try to minimize our role as a bank.
Okay. Okay. And Jürgen, yourself?
Well, we are having a very strict policy when it comes to this.
Sorry, I don't hear you. Can you increase the volume? I just want to hear if Jürgen has the same problems as I do.
So now?
Yeah.
Better?
Okay.
Okay. No, we have a very strict policy on this. The maximum we give is 30 days. Very simple. In many cases, it's even much less. When it comes to chartering, I'm not going to finance the owner, because normally chartering you have to pay like 1 week latest after loading has been done. And this is the same that I'm getting from my customers. Only last week we had a case, because somebody mentioned Italy, where a big Italian industrial company, they wanted 90 days. Nice project for South Africa. We said, no man, look, 30 days, that's the most you can get. They agreed. Then we said, okay, but just because you say yes, I mean, that doesn't mean anything yet. So we proposed a clause: if the money is not with us in 30 days, we're going to stop your cargo and stop the process of delivery. They rejected, which means nothing else, but they would not have paid after 30 days. I said, okay, thank you very much, go look for somebody else, not me. I'm not doing that. Full stop. We do a lot of business also in markets like Iran, within the frame of the sanctions. Needless to say, this is almost cash down, otherwise I'm not moving anything, you know. But we managed to get through with this kind of policy, because also many shippers, they realize, I mean, what is it worth if they pay you after 60 days, but the service they are getting from somebody is just bad? So they also focus on a certain quality, and nobody likes to pay too much, but they kind of accept that what we are doing has a certain price and has certain conditions, and touch wood, it works. But I know also that we are maybe an exception, because I hear many stories from the market, but we just don't do it.
Yeah, I have to say that we are doing this for our key clients. They are, for example, Siemens is one of our key clients, and they are requesting 60 days crediting, and it's just the game that you have to play. What I sometimes don't understand, for example, talking about ship owners trying to reach the customers, the clients directly. I see that happening heavily, and then they approach the customer and they say, okay, you don't have to use Liburnia, you don't have to use this or that company, we can work directly, but then they are agreeing to the same terms, 60 days delayed payment, and if they work through ourselves, they are paying, what, 2.5% commission, and getting their money instantly when they load the ship. So I think that's much better for them. I don't know why they are keen to work directly with the clients. Henrik, are you doing that?
No, we're not. I would say essentially we are not. We have a client like DSV, for instance, where we have a certain agreement, which means we must accept longer credit terms with them. But then again, that's a large freight forwarder where we have sort of a certain track record, so we accept that. Essentially, there is a legal issue because the ship owner has rights over the cargo as long as it's on board for freight. So if you accept, let's say, a 30 or 45-day credit term after the cargo has been loaded, you will rarely have control of the cargo the moment it has been discharged and the moment where the money also falls due. So if I don't have lien in the cargo, if I don't have a right over the cargo, I have nothing to do. I can't pursue the owner. Oh, sorry, I can't pursue the freight forwarder. So essentially, I would say that any ship owner doing so is doing it at his own peril. It's a very dangerous road to go down. Working with the freight forwarders, working with the normal terms we have, whether that is cash on completion of loading or whether it's before breaking bulk at the other end of the spectrum, depends on the relationship and the freight, of course. but it would not make sense to accept longer terms for us and offer that directly to any industrial customers or EPCs or anybody like that.
Thank you. Jos, Ocean 7 never approached my customer, I have to say that, so thank you very much. Keep doing like that. Jos, is it happening to you? Are the ship owners trying to get directly to your customers, or?
We haven't experienced it yet, but I heard stories about it. But yeah, in our business, and we are always looking for the ideal solution for our customers. The moment the shipping line comes ashore, they will go for the best solution for them. I think that can be a very big difference. Yeah. So we are very open to the market, from what's happening, who's around, who's where. And I think that's a big difference we make. And I think that's, in general, a strong point of a freight forwarder. And keep focus on the complete market, not just on the positions of, if he happens to have some ships, where they are. And yeah, that's the big difference, I think.
Jürgen, what is the added value that freight forwarders are giving to the market?
Good question. Well, I think we are just very much specialists in finding solutions that other people, including the carriers, are just unable to find. And that is not a miracle, that is a question of long experience, try and error as well, a lot, unfortunately, which sometimes was very expensive, I still remember. No, I think it's really, we are specialists when we talk about, especially when we talk about projects. And I mean, to give you one example, we have a huge ongoing project in Panama for a big mining group, and it is not just the transport from A to B. We rent 12,000 square meters of assembly area to the guys. We take care of water, electricity, catering. We even take care that the toilets for the assembly team are clean every day. We have designed and constructed ramps that the complete trucks can roll onto a pontoon that we chartered for 8 months, 5,000 tons pontoon. Then we hire a tugboat, put it in front, pull it 200 kilometers over the ocean to the port of the mining site. You couldn't do this just like this. I mean, again, it has a lot to do with a long-lasting, close partnership that I have with the local guys. I wouldn't also be able to do this from Europe. Forget it, impossible. So it's really special. Or we have a huge project right now from Switzerland, a second-hand refinery. You talk about 2,500 shippers on containers, and you talk about 120,000 freight tons of non-containerizable cargo. So that's really quite a big project. Now, when this stuff is being dismantled, you can anytime have surprises like other dimensions are different, because you cannot work with the plans they had 20 years ago when this was erected. And so there is a lot of flexibility needed, there is a lot of, and this is not just sales blah blah, a lot of 24/7 attendance needed, there is a lot of presence at the job site needed with skilled people. So it's like a puzzle, and the puzzle doesn't work if there is even only one piece missing. It just doesn't work. And so I think we are all specialists in a way, everybody in its own section, in its own niche. And I think this is the strength of freight forwarding. Again, for standardized traffics, whether it's trucking or containers, that's a complete different story. I repeat, I'm sure within the next 10 years, I repeat this, we have an Amazon marketplace for all of these kinds of services. Some of them are already here, some try this. I'm not convinced from the results I have seen so far from the service providers, but for containers, for trucking and so on, I'm sure this will come. So thanks to God, we are not doing this. And I have no intention to go into that kind of market. I mean, here is SIVA, the forwarding arm of CMA's CGM, as we all know. Man, and then we all have to make money also, and I'm sure you all know this. Then you get some request from some guy in China, and he is offering you, oh yeah, come on, let's make 10 containers and you get a profit share of $25. Man, no, thank you very much. I'm not interested in this. Look for somebody stupid, somebody else, but that's not my business.
I fully agree with you. My customer recently asked me, what is your added value? Why are you important to us? And I said, in 17 years, we never failed to give you the solution for whatever you requested. We were always here for you. And then, of course, they are now being approached by everybody and also by the ship owners. And but the thing is that, for example, Adriatic is very demanding and a demanding region. It's out of the liner trade routes, and the vessel has to deviate there. Somebody has to pay for that deviation, and the owners are competitive only if they have the vessel in position. Otherwise, they are not able to offer. So I'm telling them, okay, you can talk directly to the owners, but they will have solution for you every now and then. If they have the position, then they can do it. Otherwise, you will come back to us.
And what kind of solution do they have?
Yes.
I mean, this is the next question. What kind of do they really have a solution? I doubt this.
Yeah.
I mean, you have it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I think I have it as well. But with all due respect for the owners, but I have my doubts, really. When we talk about projects.
Jos, what are the challenges you are dealing with in your daily business today?
Challenges.
Everything is a challenge today.
The whole market is a challenge. Everybody's full, everybody's up and running. For us, it's finding skilled people. I think from our side, as a company, we try to give them the full experience. So we train them in operational, customs. We try to show them. You can be involved in pretty big things. But still, finding staff is very challenging. Finding staff willing to commit to a project that you have to learn. I mean, freight forwarding is not something you learn in a year or goes with an SOP. It's very challenging, and you have to build a network. You have to know where the skilled people are, which partners you can trust. It takes time, and not everybody is willing to commit to that anymore. So staff is a big thing at the moment.
I realize that our companies are quite similar, and we have pretty much the same activities. Are you having the same activities from the very beginning, or you are developing the companies and the activities as the market is demanding?
We are adjusting our company, what we offer. I mean, we see now a lot of people asking for solutions for Brexit, so we do a lot of custom clearances. So we're changing that. We try to invest in that, but everybody wants to have the brokers at the moment, but you can't find them. But we try to adapt. We try to offer more engineering solutions. So that's one of the latest things. I think that's also for shipping lines. I don't know if Ocean 7 is doing it, but more and more engineering solutions. So in that sense, we try to adapt and offer more solutions to our customers.
Henrik, is Ocean 7 having in-house engineering department?
No, we
so
we
you're
don't.
Outsourcing?
Yeah, we are outsourcing it if we need the engineering. Of course, we have in-house capacity when it comes to doing the necessary calculations for stability, for acceleration, that kind of thing on the ship. But essentially, our offering goes from the quay side to quay side. We'll make sure that everything in between runs smoothly and safely. But the the engineering that's required. Also, when talking about heavy lift and grillage and things like that, we need to rely on external sources, and typically that will be with the freight forwarder or sometimes the manufacturer.
We recently developed our in-house technical and engineering department. For example, method statements, we are preparing ourselves. Surveyor attendance, we always attend the loading and discharging operations ourselves. So trying to keep the control on that on our side. Henrik, one more question for you now. The detention rates have increased heavily as well. Not only the freight rates, but also the detention rates. And I mean, today, if you have 1 day waiting for any reason, you are paying 35, 40,000 euros easily.
We need to increase our rates then.
And you also have ships on time charter?
We do, yes, we do.
Okay. And the time charter rates have increased?
They have, yes. I think it's of course, again, trailing a bit because the vessels we have on time charter right now, some of them we've had on time charter for 6 months or longer, but a few of them we have taken delivery of within the last month, 2 months, and the time charter rate, of course, follows the market. So the detention rate needs to be commensurate with that.
Yeah. I know that the Sloman Discoverer that you have, you must be paying this ship heavily because the rate that I paid was very high.
It's P&C, but
it's a nice vessel.
It's a nice vessel, and we hope the owners of the vessels are quite happy with the rates they get right now. So.
But do you see any trade lane which is not hit by this disruption, where the rates are still stable and not so high?
I'd say within the project and heavy lift segments, not so much so. I think you spotted much more on the container trades. We have moved into briefly container trade. We are carrying a lot of containers from Asia to the US presently. I think that was probably what the United Heavy Lift vessel was intended to do as well, probably carry containers. And essentially when you go from the US back to Asia, there is hardly any cargo, or it doesn't pay enough to sit around waiting for it. So I'd say in that sense, of course, there are backhauls of sorts, but within the actual project cargo, within heavy lifts, general cargo essentially as well, I'd say you're not seeing sort of any changes. That still moves very much in the same manner as it did before the upsurge in freight rates.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I mean, it's weird to see today that, for example, if the clients were shipping constantly with the containers, they were paying very low rates. But today they are paying a fortune to ship on the breakbulk vessels. You see, the new building of United Heavy Lift recently bursted in Rotterdam. Was it in Rotterdam? With a complete cargo of containers.
Yes.
How do you see that, Jos?
This means that the big freight forwarders are acting as a shipping line, like big container shipping lines go ashore. But I think freight forwarders are going on the sea. Yeah. I mean, they don't want to be pending on shipping lines. They want to be in charge. And if you see the sea freight rates, they are right.
But do you think that's a result of shipping lines approaching directly the customers, and then the big freight forwarders are by chartering the breakbulk tonnage for the containers, giving the answer to that problem?
I think it's a combination. It's also a reason, but I think the main reason for them is they want to provide their customers with a solution. I mean, for companies like IKEA, Coca-Cola, it's not acceptable that you have a disruption in your supply chain. Yes. So they have to deliver, and with these freight rates, you can be a little bit creative and charter your own ship. And of course, you kick back a little bit in the shipping lines.
Yeah. No, we can agree. It's a big mess. Jürgen, when you are talking to your customer today, and you are telling them, dear customer, I'm sorry, but the rates that you had are now increasing 50, 100%, 200%. Do they trust you? Do they say, thank you, Jürgen, we will live with that, or are they exploring new solutions?
Well, it is not as bad as it was, let's say, last year's summer. They have learned the hard way, I'm afraid, and they know, meantime, everybody knows what's going on the markets. That doesn't mean they like it, that doesn't mean they easily accept it, but they have kind of given in to some extent to the circumstances. I mean, what can you do? And some of our colleagues, freight forwarder colleagues, they are in a deep mess because they have agreed on certain rates and fixed certain rates, especially from China to Europe, from China to the US. Now they cannot find any tonnage for that. And okay, what is the solution then? Either you go to court, nobody wants to do that, or you find a compromise. And compromising, I think this is normally the solution nowadays. Nobody likes the situation, but what to do? I mean, it's almost like the weather. I mean, you can discuss endlessly, why is it raining today, but it will not stop raining just because you talk about it. So you have to find a way. Either you buy an umbrella, or you go into the hall, or whatever. You have to find a solution. But yes, nobody likes it, and my personal opinion is also, I mean, I don't agree with the argument of many of the owners that, yeah, we have been suffering for years and years. Look, it was not us who made them to invest in such a big number of ships and increase the fleet endlessly over what the market demand was. I mean, so there is nobody to blame except the owners themselves. And this is like if in my small company, instead of having 10 people, I hire 20 people, and then I'm complaining that I'm not making enough money. I mean, that's my own fault, okay? So that's not an argument for me. And what we see now, I'm sure you all read this, that the revenue, the EBIT of the 11 biggest container lines in the world was topping Apple, Microsoft, you name them. They are on top of the list now. This is not healthy. Okay, Corona, we all know, nobody could influence this, but I think it's not healthy. And of course, I don't have this crystal ball to say when it's over or when it will more or less come back to a normal level. I think it's at the moment impossible to predict. I hear people saying, yeah, after the next Chinese New Year maybe, but this is, you know, there is no foundation for such a phrase. But coming back to your question, yes, we have to fight and talk with customers every day about this, but generally speaking, it works. But again, maybe we are an exception because I'm not working for the big multinationals. I'm intentionally not working for them because their conditions legally, you know, these frame agreements and contracts, a book like this, at the end, what the book is saying, if it's raining, the forwarder is responsible. You know, and no, I don't want this. They are the ones also with the long payment terms and everything. That makes no sense for me. Why should I do that? And they are the ones that will discuss with people like us much, much tougher and much harder when it comes to the freight levels. Man, leave me alone, please. I'm happy with the customers I have. That is causing problems enough, but they are manageable.
Yes, thank you very much. what we started to do is to send market reports to our customers and telling them, okay, these are the problems, here are the solutions, etc. But now we have, for example, a fresh problem that we have is we have a cargo heading to United States and to port of Savannah, which is now heavily congested, and we are counting 31, 32 vessels in front of the vessel that we have. So the vessel was still in the med when I asked the owners whether they are expecting any issues, and they said, no, we are there regularly and we will have our vessel berthed on arrival, don't worry. And then we were continuing to ask the question, is everything okay, is everything okay? And then suddenly they say, we have 7 days of delay in berthing. But the thing is that we were constantly also talking to the customer, and now we found a spare berth where we could go. The fact is that most of the vessels that are there are container vessels, and now also the break bulk part of the port is being used to berth the container vessels.
Yes.
So quite a big disruption in that respect. We have some questions online from persons, I don't know where they are. There is one Benjamin in audience. I hope it's not you asking the question, or is it? Okay, thank you very much. Is the actual future of project logistics in digitalization, or is there something else? I think we discussed that. You were not listening. We said that in container segment we can see that coming, but in project cargo segment not really. Jos, maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
I still see the project logistics.
Increase the volume. Can you try again, Jos?
I still see a future for project freight forwarders. I mean, you need so much knowledge to move these cargoes. It's impossible to do that with digitalization, or it can help, but bills of lading, blockchain with payments, etc. But it will always take knowledge from skilled people to handle these cargoes.
A friend of mine, one of my best friends, he's a general manager for the Balkan area for Maersk. And he is of opinion that project and freight forwarders are not needed anymore. But I'm telling him, and what you just said, is that we are the companies built on knowledge, and you cannot ignore that. I mean, my company is 17 years of selling the knowledge around the world. I think that there's quite a big thing behind that. We can agree to that.
I think so, yes.
Absolutely. Okay. Do you think that it will be possible that software of any kind of platforms will totally replace freight managers in the future? Might be possible in certain aspects, but not generally.
Maybe with container freight from A to B, but at the moment, you need some flexibility or so, then I don't think it's going to work.
Yes. Okay. Henrik, Ocean 7 recently acquired the trucking company, if I'm not mistaken. Are you also a project forwarder then, or you are just keen to remain the ship owner?
The trucking company works completely separate from Ocean 7 projects.
Okay.
So Ocean 7 Trucking is a haulier, or is a distributor of goods within Europe, as far as I know. They don't even own trucks themselves. They are very good at managing other people's trucks, and that's our interest in them. But freight forwarding, that will not be on our cards anytime soon.
Okay. I mean, I think you will have, or the persons that are taking care of that business, they will have big problems finding the truck drivers these days. But as you said, Jos, it's very difficult to find good people for anything in logistics today.
Yeah, it is an ongoing problem for years already, and people just don't see a career in it anymore.
Yeah.
think it's also something for us as freight forwarders to come out a little bit more and show also the nice things of the business, like the traveling. You meet a lot of people all around the world. You come to places where nobody else gets so quickly. I mean, it has its charms.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. I think it was a good discussion, and we can agree that Project Forwarder remains as the important part of the logistic chain for the long time.
Absolutely.
And we can also agree that when we are talking about the ship owners, that Ocean 7 is a reliable ship owner. And,
Hope so.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for joining this discussion. Any question from the audience, maybe? Okay. That's it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.